The pre-testing is here, and Mercedes is one team that will have the eyes of the public focused on the 2023 Challenger. One of the reasons why is because Wolff didn't hold true to the promise he made about the DNA of the car, with the W14 retaining the sidepod design and retaining the same philosophy for the upcoming season. But is this necessarily bad news for Mercedes? What are the team's expectations for the first and only pre-testing in Bahrain? And how does Mercedes plan to approach the beginning of the 2023 season regarding the sidepod design? After the disastrous 2022 season, Mercedes is ready to make a complete comeback starting from 5th of March. However, if there is one thing that we have learned about Mercedes from 2022, it's that they didn't quite grasp the concept of the technical regulations. That is something that they need to pay much more attention to in 2023, and the technical regulations tweaks may help them in this matter. Still, the porpoising issue has yet to be addressed for the 2023 season, and the first pre-test in Bahrain will reveal whether the team has made progress or distanced itself further in this regard. Mercedes enjoys playing the underdog, and for the first time in their history, they were the underdogs in 2022. Now, before they enter the 2023 season, their expectations have been set yet again low by Wolff, who, although he said that the team made tremendous progress with the same philosophy, won't be able to fight for the championship with Red Bull or Ferrari. With the reduced values of downforce for the 2023 season, the cars are supposed to be slower by 0.5 to 1 second on average, which has yet to be proven in the first couple of weeks of the 2023 season. So, what should we look out for during Mercedes' winter test? In order for you to understand the issues that Mercedes may face for the upcoming season, more precisely the pre-test in Bahrain, you need to understand the aerodynamics of the 2023 season and the expectations that the F1 experts have in terms of achieving certain amounts of downforce. If there is something that we've learned from various aerodynamicists in 2022, it's that the initial load values that are produced now will be very similar to those at the end of the 2022 season. In practice, despite the current season still being in the definition phase of the aerodynamic projects of the new cars, the teams were still able to negate the loss of downforce expected from the enforcement of the new regulations. And what seems to be very interesting is that teams have managed to obtain additional downforce points in the first developments, or more precisely, in the first races after the tests in Bahrain. Why is this such an important thing for the upcoming season? Well, it's obvious that the economy of the next championship is at stake here when it comes to reshuffling the pecking order. With the increase in the amount of downforce, it is possible that the phenomenon of porpoising, despite the cars being 10 millimeters higher in the floor section and 15 millimeters higher in the side section, could very well happen again. So, if there is one team that will be the first to bounce vividly if the porpoising phenomenon isn't fixed by now with the new regulations, that has to be Mercedes. The team has opted for the same philosophy of the no-pod sidepod design, and they even took it one notch further by making the sidepods even narrower. But the sidepod design is something that will undergo changes in the 2023 season, as early as after the first couple of races. Wolff said that while the team is very happy for what they have achieved in the simulator with the design of the W14, they are definitely down for revamping the entire design of the W14. Which would eventually mean that the team will have to rely on the extra time they have to spend in the aerodynamic facilities compared to Ferrari and Mercedes to build the perfect machinery. Wolff was full of praise for what the W14 has shown so far at Silverstone and in the simulators, and while he tried to keep the expectations as low as possible, with this being a well-known pattern of the Austrian, Mercedes is out for blood in 2023. When talking about the previous season and what we should expect regarding the car's developments in 2023, Wolff added, "It is important to be bold in this sport. I am proud of the solutions we put into the car last year. It is not fundamentally the reason that we didn't perform. There are no holy cows in our concept. It's not that we don't want to follow anybody's idea. We stayed with the narrow sidepod, but you could see developments which could come with upgrades. The sidepods will change, not soon, but we are looking at solutions." Furthermore, Wolff said that they had to learn the lesson the hard way by losing 1.5 seconds per lap with the new design. However, the data that they have collected is more than enough for them to keep going with this concept and develop it even further. This year, the team has gone the other way around, and not the one that they followed in 2022, which was them looking at the first test and thinking that it's not relevant because it's not the real car. What this eventually means is that Mercedes will put out everything they possibly can, aside from the side pods that have yet to experience changes, on the pretest in Bahrain. Wolff believes that it is fundamentally important for the team to understand the platform and how the car behaves, rather than keeping bits in the background that may give a tenth or two in aerodynamic performance. However, not everything looks great for the W14 as of now. They still have an issue to fix regarding their engine. And although the initial reports from Silverstone say that the misfiring accident was more of an engine placement rather than a core mistake in the engine itself, it's still something that requires fixing. But the fans aren't particularly happy with the fact that Wolff promised a brand new DNA for the 2023 season, and yet again decided to keep the ball running with the narrow sidepod design. The launch of the car is something that has drawn the attention of F1 tech guys, and the first one to comment on that was Will Thomas, who is the powertrain program managing director. Natalie Pinkham from Sky F1 asked how the challenges of 2022 and the poorly performing W13 affected the team mindset coming into 2023, to which Thomas replied, "The mindset I've seen and the one we discussed has been about relentless development. On the PU, power unit side, we've had more and more constraints as the regulations changed. However, Mercedes have mistakenly admitted to causing a breach amid the engine freeze that is set to be present in the sport until the beginning of the 2026 season. Will has spoken about this situation and has sincerely admitted the mistake, with him adding, "We've had at the start of last year a hardware freeze. At the start of this year, it's going to be a software performance freeze, and therefore finding performance within those constraints is so much harder. And it's only through real innovation and relentless work you can bring any performance forward, and that's the mindset I see." One of the key words here is finding performance and performance forward, as we all know that under the engine freeze, this is impossible to implement, at least not from the engine's perspective. However, the pretest in Bahrain is supposed to tell us whether Mercedes found something innovative that will help their car be more present on the top spot of the podium. Or they will yet again pray for reliability issues with Ferrari and Red Bull to remain at the top of the game. Toto Wolff was very cautious when talking about the expected performance out of the W14, and he is playing a similar game to Christian Horner as well. Obviously, they have a bit more charm and experience than the tech guys, and they know what kind of words to use in situations like this. But there have been rumors coming from Mercedes that their new engine has 10 more base horsepower compared to 2022, which is yet again a bit of a hard thing to trust now that the engine freeze won't allow them to unlock a massive amount of performance compared to what we've been seeing in 2022. This is why we need to pay attention to Mercedes and their actions during the pretest in Bahrain, because this is where we've learned about their struggles with the porpoising issue, and this is where Mercedes is set to reveal most of the secrets for their 2023 car. Alpine, for one, does have a lot of suspicion for Mercedes and their campaign, which is why the head of powertrains for Alpine, Bruno Famin, recently admitted that Renault had received up to 70 requests from other manufacturers to alter components within the frozen architecture of their power units, further asking the FIA to investigate whether the poor reliability of the engine is enough for the upgrades to be implemented in the first place. What do you think about the pre-testing in Bahrain and Mercedes? Let us know in the comments below.